Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express Online. I'm Bansi Kadapa. With me is a chartered accountant and a tax expert and an author of many books, Mr. Sanjay Dhariwal.
Hello.
Mr. Dhariwal, first of all, there are many unregistered apartment associations. Now, under the new GST rule, it says that if an apartment collects 20 lakh rupees by way of monthly maintenance and other expenses, if they collect 20 lakh rupees, or if the monthly maintenance for the apartment is 7,500, then they need to register under GST. But there is one hitch here. The Karnataka Cooperatives Department earlier had asked apartment associations to register. Many of them are not registered under them. So there is a kind of a doubt, because people have asked me, if we are not registered under the cooperative department, should we register under GST? How does it go? What is the, can you address this confusion?
A very good day to all of you. The first thing that you have asked me is that in an apartment which is say having around 20 to 40 people or 50 apartments or 100 apartments, they are all staying together. And when they are staying together, they collect a nominal amount for the maintenance of the particular apartments as such. That is not the apartment per se, but it is the common area of the apartments where the maintenance is going to happen.
Like security, like
water. Then the common areas for cleaning, sweeping and all that stuff. Absolutely. And all that. So the charges which they are collecting for the common areas which are there, including the lighting, the water and the security, everything across. Number one is that should the apartment association as such be a legal entity or no? It can be a legal entity only when it is registered under the Societies Act, or it is under a trust. If it is not under the Trust or the Societies Act, technically it doesn't amount to be a legal entity. So nor can it sue, nor can it be sued. It can be sued, but it cannot sue anybody. So if any damages are there, say supposing they have taken an AMC and the AMC is not maintained well, the society as such cannot sue because they are not a legal entity. So now when you come into the GST perspective, what happens is that if the total charges what they are collecting from all the apartment association is less than around 20 lakh rupees per annum, it is not per apartment but the consolidated value is less than 20 lakh rupees per annum, then they need not register. The question came up across is that if they are collecting more than 20 lakh rupees per annum, ultimately they are just pooling in the funds across over there, and when they pool the funds across for the benefit of themselves, is there any service provided to others? So normally if you see the goods and service tax law is talking about supply of goods or services and services to another person. So when I do a supply to myself, when I am registered or unregistered across, and I am doing it only for the purpose of my convenience, whether it is actually liable for GST or no is the question which you have been asking. So in this case what happens is the Supreme Court had taken a view in the case of Calcutta Club Association to say that it is not liable to pay any taxes. So you had the clubs like the Century Club, the Bangalore clubs, etc. and all, wherein they said that they were not liable because any money is paid by them is for their own benefits. For the services provided to self, so it is not required to be registered, not required to be paying any GST on this. So what the GST Council did is they brought an amendment with a retrospective amendment from 1st of July 2017. With that amendment, what they tried to bring in across was that irrespective of the fact that you are doing service for yourself or for others, you are deemed to be taking a benefit out of it, therefore you have to pay the taxes on it, and it became a taxable service. Now here you have to have two limbs. Number one, the consolidated amount which I receive as an association from all my apartment owners together, if it is crossing 20 lakh rupees, I have to pay the taxes. The concept over here is that the 20 lakh rupees which is there, is it liable once I cross 20 lakhs on the whole amount or no? And the second is there any exemptions which are available?
Okay. So now if I am collecting below 20 lakh, should I register or should I not register? That's the question.
See, you should understand that each apartment owner is staying there for his personal purpose. He is not conducting a business or is not conducting any profession or a vocation over that.
Absolutely.
So anything he pays, and if the association is registered, once you register it, whether it is less than 20 lakhs or more than 20 lakhs, then you are bound to pay the GST. So even if you are not crossing 20 lakhs, but if you are a registered entity under the GST law, you will be liable to pay the GST on the total value. So that value which I am collecting the GST is not which is not inputable in my hands as a house owner. So that's why they say don't register it across. But if I am crossing the 20 lakh rupees, Whether I get the benefit or no, the government is not bothered about it. I'll have to register it over there.
Okay. Now, under the GST, there are two heads. One is if a single apartment is paying 7,500
Per month.
per month, or number two, if the total volume of collections is 20 lakh or above per year.
Yeah.
Now, suppose do these apply to capital expenditure? For example, let's say we are, installing a new lift. So suddenly you'll see a spike. Suppose I'm changing my lawns. So suddenly you see a spike. Number three, I'm, carrying out a very massive expenditure like, painting the entire apartment, which I may not do every year. I may do it once in 10 years or once, in a long period. So does that capital expenditure, come under this 20 lakh and the 7,500?
Okay, let us understand now, assuming we'll take a small case that there are only 10 apartments. Now, all the 10 apartment people or are paying at around 10,000 rupees per month, which comes to 1,20,000. So, totally for 10 apartments, they are paying only 12 lakh rupees. One, they are crossing the 7,000 rupees 500 per month as a barrier, and still the total collection is less than 20 lakh rupees. Then the association need not get registered under the GST law because the gross collections are less than 20 lakhs, though individually they are collecting more than 7,500.
Okay.
Now let us take a second case wherein you have got 40 apartments and each apartment person is paying 5,000 rupees per month, that is around 60,000 rupees per annum. Now in the 60,000 rupees per annum, if you are taking it into 40 apartments across, it comes to 24 lakh rupees per annum. So now, should the association get registered? Technically, since you are crossing the parameters of 20 lakh rupees, you will have to get registered under the GST law. But since each unit, the amount is less than 7,500 rupees per month, you need not pay the taxes and it will be an exempted service. Registration for the association becomes mandatory, but payment of tax will be zero. Now, you take the third case, what you said, that every year I collect 5,000 rupees per apartment, 40, I am having 24 lakh rupees. After say 3-4 years, there is a revamping of the common areas which is required. Either cementing work is required or painting is required or the lift maintenance is to be done or whatever it is across. And because of that, it comes as around 4,000 rupees or say 1 lakh rupees extra per apartment houses. So in that case, what happens is when you are taking 1 lakh rupees extra per apartment houses, you are crossing the barriers of 7,500 per apartment. Okay, you take it as 1,20,000, so 10,000 extra it comes to 20,000 rupees.
Absolutely.
So once I take 20,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees, then it directly hits me hard. So since I'm crossing 7,500, I'll have to pay the GST on the full value. Now in 1 year I do it, in the 4th year I do it, in the 5th year, 6th year, 7th year, again I may not have more than 5,000 rupees. Now what is the procedure? That once I have registered, once I am liable, I'll have to continue with the registration, and still even if it is less than 7,500, I end up paying over that.
Okay. Now the other question apartment owners ask, the associations ask, is there is this confusion if GST is under the 18% slab or is it under the 5% slab, because there is some confusion there.
See, what happens is when you are selling an apartment per se, there used to be two clauses, either I pay 18% or I pay around 5% on the whole value. 18% was again subject to a land deduction of 1/3. When you are talking about maintenance, it comes under the service category. So there you do not have the 5% slab, you have only the 18% slab, and you are also eligible to claim the input tax credits. Now inputs can be claimed on what? Like you outsource certain work for housekeeping, you outsource certain work for securities. Those people are charging you the services along with the GST across. Those all can be claimed as an input tax credit and set off against the output taxes, whatever you are collecting from that. But the house owners, when they are charged the GST, they would not get any inputs because they are not conducting any business or anything like that.
Okay. Now they say that under the GST rules, an association that pays GST, they have to file 3 returns monthly, and there are other stipulations to be followed annually. Is this true?
No. There are only 2 returns which an association has to file. On 11th of every month, they have to file it under the GSTR1.
And so every month?
Every month one return is on the 11th of the month, and another return they have to file it on 20th of every month. That is the 3B.
Okay.
So basically one is on the output taxes, one is on the inputs what we are claiming across, so that the government can match it across to say that what is the input output, and they have a matching concept over that. Okay. So if you have charged me a services for which I am claiming input credit, only when you show it as an output tax I get the input for the same.
Okay. Now assuming, as we do not know the exact number of apartments in Bengaluru.
Okay.
We don't know the exact number of apartments in the state.
Okay.
Because places like Mysore, Bangalore, Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum, they
And
have a
Bangalore.
substantial.
And Bangalore.
And in addition to Bengaluru, we have substantial number of apartments. So, many of these apartments are well over 40 years old in Bengaluru.
Right.
And many of these apartments have retirees and people, who are well into their late 80s or late 70s living in these apartments. So, for them, all this GST is all Greek and Latin. So, and many of them don't have a full-time auditor or even a full-time manager. So, will it not work out to be an additional overhead on them? So, how will the economies of it work out for them?
See, I will put it across more differently. That when you have a small apartment association and all, you don't have professionals working for you.
Absolutely.
You have typically the responsibility taken by one of the apartment owners to say that I will take the responsibility of execution of any problems whatever we have.
Absolutely.
Part of it is outsourced, part of it is supervised by the employees which they employ over there on a permanent basis. Now in that case, there may be people who are not from an accounting background. There could be people who can be from the corporate world. There could be some senior citizens who could be there across who have no idea about what is the accounting to be done, what is the GST law, how do you file it across and all that. And this becomes a challenge for them to say that we don't mind paying the taxes, we don't mind complying with the law, but this itself is an additional cost which can be more than the GST which we are paying.
Absolutely. Because let's say he is compliant under GST, he has to pay 3,60,000.
Yeah.
Straight away as
assuming
GST.
that it's 20 lakh rupees.
Assuming that it is 20 lakh, number one. Number two,
And they get the input credits, they will set off around even say 3 lakh rupees. So effectively they have to pay 60,000. Now for that, the whole gambit of accounting, the maintenance of books of accounting, then filing an annual return at the end of the before the 31st of December, all these are things which are challenging. In addition to the GST, they also have to see that the TDS is being deducted. Then the income tax TDS returns are filed, income tax returns are filed. These are all the problems which they have it. Now, what happens is there are a lot of firms which are taking up the outsourcing services for them. So they say that you don't have to worry here. Every month, 2 or 3 days, our people would come across. We would do the accounting. We would maintain the compliances. We will file the annual returns, etc., to the Societies Act or wherever it is registered across, so that the compliances are being done. But just because it is complicated, just because I do not know, I cannot take excuse to say that I will not do the same.
Okay. So let's say there is a group like that. If they use these auditors, how much will it charge them on a monthly basis or on an annual basis?
See, that's very difficult to say because on an average, if I say that the manpower requirement would be hardly minimum to 1 day or 2 days. So if you take around 2,000 to 5,000 rupees per manpower cost for 2 days per day. So if you take it on 2 days basis, around 4,000 to 10,000 rupees a month, it could roughly mean around 60,000 rupees annum. Not for per apartment, I am talking about the whole apartment association itself, and it could go up to 3 lakhs also. But if you have around 400 apartments, 1,000 apartments, the whole calculations could be different because the number of entries could increase across and all. There the challenges could be that it becomes expensive, but when you divide it by the number of people across, it could amount to around 500 or 1,000 rupees per annum per apartment.
Okay. Now, can they take input tax credit?
Yes. So, if they are using the services of another person who is also registered under the GST law. So, now there are two types of people. Number one is you have outsourcing for your common areas, cleaning and all for housekeeping, etc. The second could be the security guards. Now, one of the agencies might be providing it to multiple places where their turnover crosses 20 lakhs. They would charge you a GST. There may be some who is not charging you a GST. If the GST is charged, you can claim the input tax credit. The important challenge which comes across over here is that as far as the maintenance is concerned, I can claim the whole input tax credit. Whether it is painting, it is polishing, it is security, it is basically getting the lift repaired and all that stuff, I can do it. But there will be certain things where the buildings itself, constructions are at place, and I do the civil constructions, etc. for those buildings. Those inputs I would not be eligible because there is a specific bar on claiming the input on construction activities. So this is something that you'll have to remember that.
Okay. What are the statutory compliances under GST that are applicable to housing associations?
As I already told you, one, you'll have to get it registered if your turnovers are crossing more than 20 lakh rupees per annum. And once you register yourself, you'll have to file your GSTR1 before 11th of every month. And then you'll have to file another form called as GSTR 3B.
Okay.
And that 3B has to be filed before 20th of every month.
Okay.
And these two things has to be compliant for all the 12 months.
Okay.
And then at the end of before the December end, that means to say that supposing I'm filing for the year ending of 31st of March 2025, then before December 2025, 31st of December 2025, I'll also have to file an annual return to say that this is my total yearly compliances against those particular things.
Okay. Can anyone be exempt from paying GST?
Yes, if you're paying per apartment less than 7,500 rupees or your total apartments collections are less than 20 lakh rupees, then you could
So even if it is 99,000, you are exempt.
Yes, you are exempted, but then it becomes a matter of question where the department, anything above 18 lakhs may like to get into detail to say that why is it not crossing 20 lakhs. And second thing is that there are certain apartment associations that try to be very strategic. Like you said that I pay only 5,000 rupees per apartment, and if there is a major cost coming in, we take it as a deposit from each of the apartment owners. That deposit is put into the FD, and that interest which comes across is used for the purpose of the settlement. These are done. Technically, you are right to say that the interest component is being used. I have not taken the deposit is refundable. Therefore, I don't have to include that into the cost of 7,500 and divided by 12 across. But then this also becomes very taxing for an apartment owner because he's already shelled out by borrowing money for the purchase of the apartment, and then you ask him for a further deposit of 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs and all that becomes a burden for him. And sometimes the apartment owners would feel that I can earn better than the bank interest which I am getting it, so rather I would like to pay the taxes than go at a 7% or 8% deposit and then use this money across. But some apartment owners are very strategic enough to do it across. They take a huge amounts as deposits. That interest is accumulated by them. That interest is not deemed to be a revenue for the organization.
Absolutely.
And then they say that we will collect less than 7,500 per head.
Absolutely. So thank you. There it is. GST demystified really, because there have been many issues, questions raised about whether we are compliant as regards GST. So here we have discussed threadbare the details. So there are many points to note that if we are paying less than 7,500, if we are not paying overall as an apartment 20 lakh per annum, still there are many issues to take note of, and I hope we have answered all of them. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.